The drive to Pine Ridge took 11 hours from the coast. I stopped twice for gas and once for a sandwich I couldn't finish. The last 40 miles were unpaved Forest Service road, my sedan bottoming out on washboard ruts until I crossed the boundary into the park proper at 4:15 in the afternoon. Tom Reese met me at the main station with a set of keys and a clipboard. He was older than I expected, maybe 60, with a gray beard trimmed close and hands that moved with deliberate economy. He didn't smile when he shook my hand, but he didn't frown either. His expression was the kind you see on people who have stopped wasting energy on things that don't matter. "Hadley," he said, "you're early." I wasn't. My start date was March 15th, and that's what it was. But I didn't correct him. The station was a 2-story structure built in the 70s, brown clapboard with green trim, a wraparound porch, and a radio tower bolted to the roof. Behind it, the forest climbed toward a ridge that disappeared into low clouds. The parking area held 2 service vehicles, a supply trailer, and a generator shed. Everything looked maintained, but tired. Tom walked me through orientation in under an hour. Locker assignment, radio frequencies, vehicle keys, emergency contacts, shift schedule. I would work the overnight, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., 5 days on and 2 days off. The pay was better than I'd expected, which should have been my first warning. "You'll get the routine quick," Tom said. "The trails aren't complicated. 12 miles of maintained path, 4 trailheads, 2 backcountry campsites. We get maybe 15 visitors a day in season, fewer this time of year." I nodded and signed where he pointed on the paperwork. "One thing," he said when we finished. He reached into his desk and pulled out a laminated sheet, standard letter size, the edges worn smooth from handling. "Read this tonight before your first shift. Read it carefully. If you have questions, I'll be here until 9. I took the sheet. It was heavier than I expected, the lamination thick and slightly yellowed. "What is it?" "Operating procedures," Tom said. "Specific to this station." I looked at the header. It read, "Pine Ridge Station, Night Shift Protocols," in blocky typewriter font. Below that, a numbered list continued onto the back. Every station has these. Tom's pause lasted exactly long enough to make the question feel wrong. "Read it tonight," he said. "Questions before 9. He left me in the common room with my duffel bag and a station map pinned to the wall. I made coffee from the communal pot, found my bunk in the upstairs quarters, and sat on the mattress with the laminated sheet in my hands. The rules were numbered 1 through 12. I read them 3 times before I understood that understanding wasn't the point. 1. Nightly patrols begin at 11:30 p.m. and conclude no later than 2 a.m. The East Loop is walked first, then the West Loop. Do not deviate from this order. 2. All trail markers must be counted during patrol. The East Loop contains 23 markers. The West Loop contains 19 markers. If your count differs by more than 1, return to the station immediately and radio channel 4 with code 77. 3. If you encounter a hiker after dark, do not speak first. Wait for them to state the daily verification phrase. The phrase is posted in the radio room each morning by 0600 hours. If they do not state the phrase within 15 seconds, maintain 20 feet of distance and return to the station. 4. Between 1:15 a.m. and 1:45 a.m., all exterior lights must be switched off. During this window, remain in the main office with the door locked and blinds drawn. Do not look outside. 5. The supply cabin at mile marker 7 is checked on Mondays only. Do not enter the cabin on any other day. If you hear sounds from inside the cabin on non-Monday nights, do not investigate. Radio station 2 with code 44 and continue your patrol. 6. If you hear your name called from the forest, do not respond. If the voice belongs to someone you recognize, do not respond. Voices that sound familiar are not verification. Only the daily phrase is verification. 7. Missing person reports filed before January 1st, 2019 are archived and closed. Do not search for individuals on those lists. If you encounter someone matching a pre-2019 description, do not approach. Maintain distance and radio station 2. 8. The radio must be checked every 2 hours on channel 4. Respond only to communications that include your station number. Your station number is 14. If you receive a transmission addressing you by name without your station number, do not respond. 9. If a hiker asks for directions to the old campground, inform them it was decommissioned and offer Ridgeline or Cedar Flat as alternatives. Do not mention the old campground's location. Do not confirm that it existed. 10. After 2 a.m., all patrol activity ceases. Remain inside the station until dawn. The east door must be locked with both the deadbolt and the chain. The west door is sealed and must not be opened under any circumstances. 11. If you hear knocking after 11 p.m., verify the visitor through the side window before responding. If they refuse to turn toward the window, or if they turn but their face appears incorrect, do not open the door. Radio station 2 with code 11. 12. At 05:45 each morning, conduct a perimeter check of the station exterior. Count the boot prints in the soil beneath each window. If the count exceeds the number of staff on duty, do not enter the affected area. Wait for the day shift supervisor. I read the list a 4th time. Then I went downstairs to find Tom. He was in the radio room, logging something in a binder with small, precise handwriting. He didn't look up when I entered. Questions, I said. Go ahead. What's at the old campground? Nothing, Tom said. It was decommissioned. Why can't I mention it? Because it was decommissioned. I waited. He kept writing. Rule 7, I said. The pre-2019 missing persons. How many are there? Tom set down his pen. He turned in his chair and looked at me directly for the first time since orientation. 43, he said. Between 1982 and 2018. The last one was a woman named Patricia Vance, reported missing November 9th, 2018. Her trail was cold in under a week. And I might encounter someone matching those descriptions. You might. On the trails. On the trails, Tom said. After dark. I felt the laminated sheet in my hand, slick and heavy. What are they? People who went missing, Tom said. Who still use the trails. He turned back to his binder. I stood there for a while longer, but he didn't say anything else. At 8:45, I went upstairs and tried to sleep. At 10:30, my alarm went off, and I put on my uniform and went to work. The first week was quiet. I learned the routine the way you learn any job, through repetition and small corrections. The East Loop took 47 minutes at a steady pace. The West Loop took 39. I counted markers with a clicker Tom gave me, a cheap plastic thing that fit in my palm. 23 on the East, 19 on the West. The numbers never varied. I saw hikers twice in those first 7 nights. Both times, they stated the verification phrase before I could even process their presence. The phrase changed daily, always something mundane. Clear skies tonight. Watch your footing. Station 14 acknowledges. The hikers said the words, I said them back, and they continued on their way. I logged the encounters in the binder and radioed Station 2 with the standard check-in. The 1:15 blackout window was the hardest part. 30 minutes doesn't sound long until you're sitting in a locked room with the lights off, listening to the forest. The building creaked, wind moved through the trees. Occasionally, something walked on the porch, the footsteps heavy and deliberate, circling the station in a pattern I learned to predict. I never looked. The blinds stayed drawn. I sat at the desk with my flashlight off and my radio on standby, and I waited for the clock to read 1:45. Then I turned the lights back on and finished my shift. On my 8th night, the footsteps stopped directly outside the main office window. I heard breathing, low and rhythmic, like someone recovering from exertion. It lasted 4 minutes. I counted each second on my watch because counting was something I could control. At 1:44, the breathing stopped. At 1:45, I turned on the lights. At 1:46, I checked the perimeter through the side window. Nothing was there. The boot prints beneath the main office window numbered 6. I was the only staff on duty. I logged it and radioed Station 2. A voice I didn't recognize said, "Acknowledged 14." And the channel went dead. Tom arrived at 7 for the shift change. I showed him the log and the boot print count. He nodded once, wrote something in his personal notebook, and told me to get some sleep. Does it get worse? I asked. Define worse. More active, more frequent. Tom considered the question. It gets different, he said. The first month is orientation. They're learning your patterns the same way you're learning theirs. The trails have been here a long time, Tom said. Longer than the station, longer than the park. We're guests, Hadley. Guests follow rules. I slept for 6 hours and woke up thinking about Patricia Vance, the last one on the list, November 9th, 2018. I didn't look her up. I didn't want to know what she looked like. The second week brought rain. 3 days of steady drizzle that turned the trails to mud and kept the day hikers away. My patrols were solitary and cold. The forest reduced to gray shapes and the sound of water dripping from branches. The markers were harder to see in the dark, but I counted them anyway. 23, 19. On the 4th night of rain, I reached marker 11 on the East Loop and found someone standing beside it. The figure was maybe 30 feet ahead, motionless, facing the trail. I couldn't make out features in the dark, just the outline of a person in hiking clothes, a pack on their back, rain dripping from the brim of a hat. I stopped and waited. 15 seconds, 30. The figure didn't speak. I stayed where I was. Rule 3 was clear. I did not speak first. I did not approach. I counted the seconds and watched the rain fall on shoulders that didn't move, on a chest that didn't rise and fall with breath. At 45 seconds, I began backing away. The figure turned its head to track my movement, slow and deliberate, like a camera on a motorized mount. I didn't run. I maintained the 20-foot distance and I walked backward until I reached marker 10. Then I turned and completed the return to the station at a pace that was almost, but not quite, running. I radioed Station 2, code 33, possible unverified contact. Description, the voice said. I gave what I could. Medium height, dark clothing, pack, hat, no visible features. Location, marker 11, East Loop. Stand by. I stood by. 4 minutes passed, The radio crackled. Station 14, resume patrol. West Loop only tonight. East Loop closure until further notice. Acknowledged, I said. My voice was steady. My hands were not. I walked the West Loop, 19 markers. Nothing waited for me at any of them. I returned to the station at 1:52 a.m. and locked both doors and sat in the dark until dawn. Tom came in with a second ranger I hadn't met. Her name was Diaz, and she worked the day shift out of Station 2, 12 miles east by Forest Road. She didn't make small talk. She and Tom walked the East Loop together while I tried to sleep upstairs. When they came back, Tom gave me a new sheet. Amendments, he said, effective immediately. The sheet was smaller than the first, 6 additional rules, numbered 13 through 18. 13. If you encounter an unverified individual, do not attempt secondary contact. Mark the location mentally and report to Station 2. Do not return to that section of trail until cleared. 14. Unverified individuals may match descriptions from the pre-2019 files. Do not acknowledge recognition. Do not use names. Names are not verification. 15. If an unverified individual speaks without using the daily phrase, do not respond to the content of their speech. Walk away at a steady pace. Do not run. 16. If an unverified individual follows you, maintain awareness without direct observation. Do not look back more than once per 30 seconds. Do not make eye contact. 17. If you hear a verification phrase stated in a voice that does not match visible speaker characteristics, treat it as unverified. Voice timbre. Age and gender may be inconsistent. 18. Increase radio checks to every 90 minutes during active weather. Storm conditions correlate with increased activity. I read the amendments twice. Active weather, I said. Rain, Tom said. Fog, heavy snow. Anything that reduces visibility below 50 yards. And storm conditions correlate with increased activity. Yes. What kind of activity? Tom took the amendments back and placed them in a laminating sleeve. The kind the rules are designed to manage, he said. Follow the protocols. Log everything. Radio when required. The system works if you work the system. Diaz was watching me from the doorway. Her expression was the same as Tom's, that practiced economy of emotion that came from years of this job. How long have you been doing this? I asked her. 7 years. And before that? I was a hiker, she said. I got lost once near the old campground. Tom found me. She didn't elaborate. I didn't ask her to. The East Loop reopened after 3 days. I walked it on a clear night, cold enough that my breath fogged, counting markers with my clicker. At marker 11, I slowed. The trail was empty. The mud where the figure had stood was smooth and undisturbed, as if nothing had ever been there. I counted the remaining markers. 23 total. I completed the patrol and returned to the station and logged the walkthrough as uneventful. The radio crackled at 12:17 a.m. Station 14. 14 here. Acknowledge receipt of amended protocols. Acknowledged, I said. Amendments 13 through 18 received and read. Station 2 confirms. Maintain standard schedule. Report deviations. Understood. The channel closed. I sat at the desk and looked at the laminated sheets. Original and amended, side by side. 18 rules. I had followed all of them. The system was working. At 12:49, someone knocked on the east door. I checked the clock. The 1:15 blackout window was still 26 minutes away. The knock came again. 3 measured impacts. the kind a polite person makes when they don't want to intrude. I went to the side window. The porch light illuminated a circle of wooden planks and the first few feet of the gravel path. A woman stood at the edge of the light, her back to the window, facing the forest. "Turn around," I said. My voice was muffled by the glass. She didn't move. "I need to see your face. Turn toward the window." The woman raised one hand and waved, a small gesture, almost friendly. She didn't turn. I stepped back from the window. Rule 11 was explicit. If they refuse to turn, do not open the door. "State the verification phrase," I said. The woman's voice was clear through the door, soft and slightly hoarse, like she'd been walking a long time. "Please," she said. "I'm lost. I've been walking for hours. I just need to use your radio." "State the verification phrase." "I don't know what that means. Please, I just need help." I picked up the radio. Channel 4. "Station 2, this is 14. Unverified individual at east door, refusing to turn, requesting guidance." The response came in 8 seconds. 14, do not engage. Maintain distance. Do not open door. Acknowledged. I set the radio down. The woman was still talking, her voice carrying through the wood. "I can hear you in there. I know you're following rules. I know you think you're supposed to do this, but I'm a person. I'm just a person who got lost. My name is Sarah. I have a family. I have a daughter. Her name is Emma. She's 7 years old. Please." I closed my eyes. I counted to 10. "I'm not supposed to talk to you," I said. "I'm sorry." "You're talking to me now." I didn't answer. I walked to the main office and sat at the desk and waited. The knocking continued at intervals, 3 impacts each time, perfectly spaced. At 1:14, it stopped. At 1:15, I turned off the lights and drew the blinds and sat in the dark. The footsteps began at 1:17. They circled the station 3 times, slow and measured, pausing at each window. I didn't count the duration. I sat with my hands flat on the desk and my eyes on the clock, and I waited. At 1:45, I turned the lights on. I looked through the side window. The porch was empty. I conducted the perimeter check at 5:45. The boot prints beneath the east door numbered 14. I logged them and waited for Tom. "Sarah," I said when he arrived. She gave a name, Sarah, daughter named Emma, 7 years old. Tom opened a filing cabinet and pulled out a folder. He flipped through pages, found what he was looking for, and set it on the desk. Sarah Wendell, age 34. Last seen August 19th, 2007. Hiking with her daughter, Emma, age 7. Both reported missing at 6 p.m. when they failed to return to the Ridgeline trailhead. Search conducted for 11 days. No remains recovered. I looked at the date. 2007, 17 years ago. "Emma would be 24 now," I said. "Emma is still 7, Tom said. "She was 7 when she went missing, and she's 7 now. That's how it works." She said she had a daughter named Emma, who is 7. Present tense. Yes. I sat with that for a moment. The math didn't work. The logic didn't work. Nothing about this worked in any way I could process. "Has anyone ever opened the door?" I asked. "Once," Tom said. "Ranger named Caldwell. 1996. He opened the door for a man who claimed to be a lost hunter." "What happened?" "Caldwell walked into the forest with him. They found his truck at the trailhead the next morning. Keys in the ignition, engine still warm. They never found him. He's on the list," Tom said. "Between 1982 and 2018, 43 people. Caldwell is number 27. I looked at the folder. Sarah Wendell's photograph showed a woman with short brown hair and a tired smile. She was standing at a trailhead marker, Emma on her hip, both of them squinting into the sun. "What are they?" I asked. "People who went missing," Tom said. "Who still use the trails." It wasn't an answer, but I was starting to understand that answers weren't the point. The third week, I settled into the routine. Patrol at 11:30, East Loop first, then West. Markers counted, radio checks every 90 minutes. Blackout window from 1:15 to 1:45. Perimeter at 5:45. Sleep during the day. Wake up at 10:30. Do it again. The forest was quiet most nights. I heard animals in the brush. Saw deer at the edge of my flashlight beam. Startled a porcupine once near marker 17 on the West Loop. Normal things. Documented wildlife. The kind of encounters you expect in a national forest. The other encounters were less frequent, but no less real. On the 19th night, I counted 24 markers on the East Loop. I radioed Station 2 immediately. "One extra," I said. "East Loop, marker between 12 and 13. Wooden post, standard design, number worn off. Stand by, 14. I stood by. The extra marker was maybe 3 feet tall, weathered gray, indistinguishable from the others, except that it wasn't supposed to exist. 14, confirmed discrepancy. Return to station. Do not approach the anomalous marker. I'm 50 feet from it. Maintain distance. Return to station. East Loop closure effective immediately." I walked back the way I came, counting markers in reverse. 23 on the return trip. The extra marker was gone by the time I reached its position. I logged the incident and waited for morning. Diaz came with Tom. They walked the East Loop together. I watched from the station porch, too tired to sleep, drinking coffee that tasted like nothing. When they returned, Diaz was carrying something wrapped in a plastic bag. She set it on the table without comment. "What is it?" "Trail marker," Tom said. "Standard issue. Park Service inventory tag on the bottom. Date stamped August 2004. That's when it was installed." "That's when it was reported missing," Diaz said, "along with the ranger who installed it." She opened the filing cabinet and pulled a folder. Daniel Okonkwo, age 41, maintenance crew. Last seen August 3rd, 2004, installing trail markers on the East Loop. Did not report for shift end. Vehicle found at the main station. Personal effects in his locker. "He's number 31, Tom said. "The markers come back sometimes. Sometimes other things come back. Equipment, clothing. Once, a radio that still worked." "Did you try to contact anyone through it?" "We followed protocols," Tom said. "The radio was logged, inventoried, and stored. It's in the basement at Station 2. I looked at the bag on the table. The marker inside was weathered but intact. The wood smooth from years of exposure. Or something like years. "Why does this happen?" I asked. "We don't know," Diaz said. "We just know what works." The fourth week brought fog. It rolled in from the west on a Tuesday evening, thick and gray, reducing visibility to 30 yards by sunset and 10 yards by midnight. I could barely see the edge of the porch from the main office window. The forest had disappeared into white nothing. I radioed Station 2 at 11:15. "Conditions below 50 yards, I said. "Requesting guidance on patrol status." 14, patrol is modified. West Loop only. Maintain verbal count allowed. If count differs from 19, do not complete the circuit. Return immediately. Acknowledged. I walked the West Loop in fog so dense I could feel it on my skin. My flashlight beam died at 5 feet, absorbed by the white. I counted markers aloud, my voice strange and flat in the muffled air. 1, 2, 3. The sound of my footsteps was the only other noise. No wind, no animals, no forest sounds at all. 7, 8, 9. At marker 12, I heard someone walking parallel to the trail. The footsteps were maybe 20 feet to my left, matching my pace exactly, step for step. I didn't stop. I didn't look. I counted. 13, 14, 15. The footsteps continued. I could hear breathing now, slow and rhythmic, the way you breathe when you're walking a familiar path and don't need to think about it. 16, 17, 18. The breathing stopped. The footsteps stopped. 19. I reached the trailhead. 19 markers. I turned and walked back to the station without looking to my left. The fog pressed against me like something with weight, but nothing followed. I locked both doors and sat in the main office until the blackout window arrived. When I turned off the lights, the footsteps on the porch began immediately. They circled 4 times. On the 5th circuit, they stopped at the main office window. I heard breathing again, louder now, close enough that the glass should have fogged. Hadley. My name, my actual name, spoken in a voice I didn't recognize. Hadley, I know you're in there. I can see your shape through the blinds. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I'm not one of them, Hadley. I was a ranger here, 20 years ago. My name is Caldwell. David Caldwell. I opened the door, and I've been out here ever since. I know what happens. I can help you understand. The voice was calm and reasonable. The voice sounded like a person who had been lost and was tired and wanted to come inside. Open the door, Hadley. I can explain everything. I can tell you what's really happening in these woods. The rules don't protect you. They just keep you contained. They just make sure you stay useful. I checked my watch. 1:31 a.m., 14 minutes until the window closed. I've been watching you for weeks. You're careful. You're patient. You follow the protocols, but you're also curious. I can see it in the way you look at the forest. You want to understand. I can give you that. 12 minutes. The old campground isn't decommissioned, Hadley. It's still there. I can take you to it. I can show you where it all started. Don't you want to know? 10 minutes. I put my hands over my ears. It didn't help. The voice came through the walls, through the floor, through the bones of the building. Sarah Wendell is out here. Emma, too. Daniel Okonkwo. All of them. They're not suffering, Hadley. They're just different now. Different isn't bad. Different is just the next step. You could take that step. All you have to do is open the door. 8 minutes. I started counting. Prime numbers. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17. I counted until the numbers were louder than the voice. I counted until 1:45 arrived, and I turned on the lights, and the porch was empty, and the fog was lifting, and I was alone. I radioed Station 2 at 1:50. Verbal contact during blackout window, I said. Voice claimed to be former Ranger Caldwell, requested door access, described location of old campground, made claims about the nature of the phenomena. 14. Did you respond to the voice? Negative. Did you open the door? Negative. Did you look through the blinds? Negative. There was a pause. When the voice came back, it was Diaz. Hadley, you did good. That was a test. They test everyone eventually. The fact that you reported it accurately means you passed. A test. They find your curiosity and they use it. Caldwell's been dead for 28 years. Whatever was on your porch wasn't him. He said he opened the door and he's been out there ever since. That part might be true, Diaz said, but it doesn't change what he is now. I didn't sleep that day. I sat at the desk and read the rules and amendments until the words stopped meaning anything. Then I read them again. The fog lasted 3 more nights. Each night, something different. On the second night, I heard Emma Wendell, a child's voice, small and scared, calling for her mother from somewhere near Marker 8 on the East Loop. I was in the station. The East Loop was closed. I didn't go to the window. On the third night, I heard my own voice. It came from the west side of the building, calm and measured, reciting the rules aloud, 1 through 18. Every word perfect, every inflection matching my memory of how I sounded when I read them to myself. I radioed Station 2. They told me to remain inside. They told me not to listen. They told me the system was working. On the fourth night, the fog lifted and someone knocked on the east door. 3 measured impacts, polite, unhurried. I went to the side window. A man stood at the edge of the porch light, facing the door, his features clear and ordinary. Middle-aged, thinning hair. Park service uniform with the correct patches. Verification, I said through the glass. Clear skies tonight, he said. That was the phrase, the correct phrase for March 22nd. I hesitated. You can open the door, he said. I'm day shift out of Station 3. Diaz sent me to check on you after the fog. Station 3 doesn't exist. The man smiled. Sure it does. West side of the park, past the old campground. I stepped back from the window. State your name and station number, I said. Marcus Webb, Station 3. Station numbers only go up to 2. The man's smile didn't waver. They added a 3rd station last month. Budget expansion. You haven't been briefed yet. I picked up the radio. Station 2, this is 14. Individual at East Door claims to be Marcus Webb from Station 3, requesting verification. The radio crackled, Diaz's voice. 14, there is no Station 3. There is no Marcus Webb in the system. Do not open the door. I looked back at the window. The man was still there, still smiling, but something had changed in his face. The features were the same, but the expression was wrong, like a mask that had slipped slightly and then been reset. You should check your radio battery, the man said. Sometimes they give bad information when the charge is low. My battery is fine. Are you sure? These old units fail all the time. Why don't you open the door and I'll take a look at it? No. The man's smile widened. Too wide. The corners of his mouth pulled past the point where muscles should allow. Hadley, he said, you're going to get tired eventually. You're going to make a mistake. The rules can't protect you forever. Sooner or later, you'll open a door, or you'll answer a voice, or you'll walk just a little too far down a trail, and then you'll understand. You'll be out here with the rest of us, and you'll finally understand. I turned off the porch light. I heard the man laugh, a sound like branches scraping against glass, and then footsteps retreating down the gravel path. I didn't sleep until dawn. Tom arrived at 7 with a new sheet. Emergency protocols, he said. Memorize these. We're expecting weather this week. The sheet contained 5 additional rules, numbered 19 through 23. 19. During severe weather events, all patrol activity is suspended. Do not exit the station for any reason until the all clear is issued by Station 2. 20. If power fails, the backup generator will engage automatically. If the generator fails, use battery lanterns only. Do not use open flame illumination under any circumstances. 21. During extended blackout conditions, Maintain radio contact every 30 minutes. If contact cannot be established for 2 consecutive check-ins, initiate safe room protocol. The safe room is the upstairs supply closet. The door locks from inside. There are provisions for 48 hours, 22. If you hear someone inside the station during safe room protocol, do not exit. If they identify themselves as park service personnel and provide correct verification, respond through the door. But do not open it. Wait for the all clear from Station 2. 23. If the safe room is compromised, there's a floor hatch beneath the storage shelves. The hatch leads to a crawl space that exits behind the generator shed. Use this route only as a last resort. The crawl space is not fully mapped. I read the protocols twice. What kind of weather? I asked. Storm system moving in from the northwest. Heavy snow, probably. High winds. Could be 3 or 4 days. And the activity increases during storms. The boundaries get thinner, Tom said. Whatever separates us from them, it weakens when visibility drops. The longer the storm, the weaker the boundary. What happens if it weakens enough? Tom didn't answer. He handed me a supply inventory checklist and a key to the upstairs closet. I'll be at Station 2, he said. Radio every hour during the storm. Diaz will be monitoring. What if the radio fails? Then follow the protocols, Tom said. The system works if you work the system. He left at 8. I spent the day checking supplies. 12 bottles of water, 8 MREs, 4 battery lanterns, 2 spare radio batteries, 1 first aid kit, 1 flashlight with extra bulbs, 30 feet of rope, 1 emergency blanket. I moved everything to the upstairs closet and tested the lock. It held. The storm arrived at 6 p.m. The wind came first, pushing through the trees with a sound like breathing. Then the snow, heavy and wet, accumulating fast on the porch and the paths and the roof of the station. By 8 p.m., I couldn't see the tree line. By 10, I couldn't see the edge of the porch. I radioed Station 2 at 11. 14 checking in, visibility 0, temperature dropping, all patrol activity suspended. Acknowledged 14, maintain hourly check-ins, emergency protocols are in effect. Understood. I sat at the desk and watched the snow pile against the windows. The building creaked in the wind, small adjustments to pressure changes, the sound of an old structure holding against forces it wasn't designed for. At midnight, the lights flickered. The backup generator kicked in 3 seconds later, the hum vibrating through the floor. I checked the gauges in the utility closet. Fuel for 36 hours. Battery backup for 12 more after that. I radioed Station 2. 14 reporting, primary power failure, running on generator, systems stable. Acknowledged, continue monitoring. The snow kept falling. At 1 a.m., I heard something on the porch. Not footsteps this time, something heavier. A dragging sound, like furniture being moved across wood. I went to the side window and looked through a gap in the blinds. A shape was moving along the porch railing. Large, low to the ground. It moved in segments like a caterpillar, each section advancing and then waiting for the rest to follow. I couldn't see details in the snow, just the shape, just the movement. I stepped back from the window and checked the clock. 1:03 a.m., 12 minutes until the blackout window. The dragging sound continued around the building. I tracked it by ear, from the east side to the north, from the north to the west, from the west back to the east. A complete circuit, then another. At 1:14, I turned off the lights. The dragging stopped. I sat in the dark and listened to the storm. The wind pushed against the walls. The generator hummed beneath me. The snow tapped against the glass in patterns that almost sounded like words. At 1:20, something tapped on the window 3 times. Polite, unhurried. I didn't move. The tapping came again, louder this time, and then a voice. "Hadley, it's Diaz. There's an emergency at Station 2. We need you to come out." I checked my watch. 1:22. The blackout window ran until 1:45. "I can't open the door until 1:45, I said. "Protocol." "The protocol is suspended. This is an emergency. Tom is hurt. We need you to help carry him to the truck." "Radio Station 2, I said. "Tell them to confirm." "The radio is down. The storm took out the tower. That's why I'm here in person." I picked up the radio. Channel 4. "Station 2, this is 14. Requesting confirmation of emergency. Voice at door claims to be Diaz." Static, then a voice. "14, this is Station 2. Diaz is here with me. She has not left the building. Do not open the door." The voice outside the window didn't stop. "That's not Station 2, Hadley. The radio is compromised. They can fake transmissions during storms. I'm the real Diaz. I'm standing right here. Just look out the window and you'll see me." I didn't look. "Hadley, please. Tom is bleeding. He fell on the trail. If we don't get him to medical in the next hour, he's going to die. Do you want that? Do you want his death on your hands because you followed a protocol?" 1:31. "I know you're counting the minutes. I know you think the window matters. But the window is just a guideline. It's not magic. It's not going to protect you from anything real. I'm real, Hadley. I'm standing here in a snowstorm because Tom is dying, and you're the only one who can help." 1:35. The voice changed. It was still Diaz's voice, the same pitch and rhythm, but something underneath it shifted, like a frequency sliding out of tune. "Open the door, Hadley. Open the door and come outside. The rules don't matter out here. Nothing matters out here. It's quiet and it's dark, and there's nothing to count, and nothing to log, and nothing to protect yourself from. Just open the door." 1:40. "Open the door." 1:42. "Open the door." 1:44. The voice stopped. The tapping stopped. The dragging sound resumed, circling the building twice more, and then fading into the storm. At 1:45, I turned on the lights. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely work the switch. I radioed Station 2. 14 reporting. Contact during blackout window. Voice mimicked Diaz. Claims of emergency. Requested door access. Acknowledged. Diaz is confirmed present at Station 2. No emergency has occurred. Maintain protocols. Understood. I sat at the desk until dawn. The storm didn't stop. Day 2 of the storm. The snow was past the porch railing now, 2 feet deep and still falling. The generator had 24 hours of fuel left. I rationed my water and ate half an MRE for breakfast. The radio checks continued every hour. Station 2 responded each time, the same voice, the same phrases. I started to wonder if it was real. At noon, someone knocked on the east door. I was awake this time, sitting at the desk, reading the protocols for the 20th time. The knock was different from before. Rapid, urgent, the kind of knock that expects an immediate answer. "Station 14, this is Marcus Webb, Relief Ranger from Station 4. I've been dispatched to assist with storm operations." Station 4. Yesterday, it was Station 3. The number was climbing. "There is no Station 4, I said. They added it last week. Emergency expansion. The Park Service is pulling rangers from across the district. We're understaffed because of the weather." "State the verification phrase." "I don't have today's phrase. The radio is down. They briefed me verbally at headquarters. I can't open the door without verification. Then look through the window. I'm wearing the uniform. I have a badge. I have identification. I went to the side window. A man stood on the porch, facing me this time, his features clear in the gray daylight. He looked normal, tired, cold, snow in his hair, but normal. His uniform was correct. The patches were correct. He held up a badge and an ID card. "Marcus Webb," he said. "Badge number 7742. You can verify with headquarters once the radio is back." I looked at the badge. The numbers were clear. The photo matched his face. "How did you get here?" I asked. "I walked. The roads are impassable. It took 6 hours from the nearest plowed section. 6 hours in this storm. I'm a strong hiker," he said. His smile was normal, just a person's smile. "I can't let you in without verification," I said. "Protocol. Protocols have exceptions for emergencies. I'm wet and I'm cold, and I've been walking for 6 hours. I need to warm up. I need water. I need to rest before I can walk back." I hesitated. 1 hour, he said. "Just 1 hour inside, then I'll leave. I won't touch anything. I won't ask questions. I'll sit by the heater and warm up, and then I'll go." I looked at his face. The features were consistent. The expression was appropriate. Nothing was wrong. "I can't," I said. The smile stayed on his face, but something behind his eyes changed. A flicker, a shift. "You're making a mistake," he said. "The protocols aren't going to save you. Nothing saves anyone out here. Sooner or later, you'll let someone in, or you'll go out, or the boundary will thin enough that it doesn't matter. And when that happens, you'll realize that all this time, all these rules, all these procedures, they were just delaying the inevitable." "Leave," I said. "I'm not going anywhere," he said. "I can wait. I've waited before." He sat down on the porch steps, his back to the door, facing the storm. I watched him through the window for an hour. He didn't move. He didn't shiver. The snow accumulated on his shoulders and his head and his hands, and he didn't move. At 2 p.m., I radioed Station 2. 14 reporting, individual on porch, claims to be Marcus Webb, Station 4, sitting on steps, not moving. Station 14, there is no Station 4. There is no Marcus Webb. Do not engage. Do not observe for extended periods. Observation creates connection. He's been there an hour. Stop watching. Close the blinds. Resume normal activities. I closed the blinds. I sat at the desk and didn't look. At 3 p.m., I heard him stand. I heard footsteps cross the porch. I heard him knock 3 times, polite and unhurried. "Hadley," he said. "I'm getting cold. Are you sure you won't let me in?" I didn't answer. "I can tell you what happened to Sarah Wendell. I can tell you where Emma is. I can tell you about the old campground and why the markers come back and what's under the trails when the snow melts. Don't you want to know?" I put my hands over my ears. "I was a ranger once, Hadley, just like you. I followed the rules for 3 years. I counted every marker and logged every contact and radioed every hour. And then one night, I made a mistake. One small mistake. I opened a door because I thought I heard a child crying. And now I've been out here for 12 years, and I've learned everything, and I can share it with you if you just let me in." I started counting. Prime numbers. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11. The rules don't protect you, Hadley. They contain you. They keep you useful. They make sure you stay inside so the forest always has someone to watch, someone to want, someone to wait for. 13, 17, 19, 23. You're going to be one of us eventually. Everyone becomes one of us eventually. The only question is how long you wait. 29, 31, 37. The knocking stopped. The voice stopped. When I finally looked through the window at 4 p.m., the porch was empty, and the snow was undisturbed, and there were no footprints anywhere. Day 3 of the storm. 18 hours of generator fuel left. I switched to battery lanterns to conserve power. The radio checks had become erratic. Station 2 responded sometimes, and not others. When they responded, the voice was correct, but the content was wrong. References to things that hadn't happened. Names of rangers I'd never heard of. Instructions for protocols that didn't exist. At 8 p.m., the radio crackled without my initiating contact. Station 14, this is Station 2. Emergency Protocol 9 is in effect. Repeat, Emergency Protocol 9. I checked my sheets. There was no Protocol 9. Station 2, please clarify. I have no Protocol 9 in my briefing materials. Protocol 9, 14. You know what to do. Begin immediately. The voice sounded like Diaz. The cadence was right. The phrasing was close. Station 2, verification required. What is the current weather phrase? Silence, then a different voice. Older, male. Hadley, this is Tom. Protocol 9 is real. It was added after your briefing. You need to exit the station immediately and proceed to the supply cabin at mile marker 7. There's equipment there you need. The supply cabin is Monday access only. It's Thursday. Exceptions during storms. Protocol 9. You know the rules have exceptions. I set the radio down. I didn't respond. At 9 p.m., someone began walking on the roof. The footsteps were heavy, measured, circling the station in a pattern I recognized. East side to north, north to west, west to south, south back to east. A complete circuit every 3 minutes. I timed it. 3 minutes exactly. 5 circuits. Then the footsteps stopped directly above the main office. I looked at the ceiling. The wood creaked once, a settling sound, and then nothing. At 10 p.m., the lights flickered and died. The generator had failed early. I checked my watch, 8 hours ahead of schedule. I switched to battery lanterns and moved to the upstairs closet. The door locked behind me with a solid click. I arranged the supplies in the dark, water bottles against the left wall, MREs against the right, flashlight and radio within reach. The radio crackled. Station 14, this is Station 2. Acknowledge generator failure. Acknowledged, running on battery backup. Initiating safe room protocol. Confirmed, maintain position. All clear will be issued when conditions permit. The voice sounded correct. The procedure felt correct. I settled against the wall and waited. At 11 p.m., someone opened the front door. I heard it clearly, the deadbolt turning, the chain sliding free, the hinges creaking as the door swung open. Then footsteps in the downstairs hallway. Slow, deliberate. The stairs creaked. I held my breath. The footsteps ascended, 1 step at a time, pausing on each landing. I counted them. 12 steps on the staircase, 12 creaks as something climbed. The footsteps reached the second floor. They moved along the hallway, past the bunks, past the bathroom, toward the supply closet. They stopped outside the door. Hadley, a voice said. My voice. My exact voice, down to the slight hesitation I have when I say my own name. Hadley, you can come out now. The storm is over. Station 2 sent the all clear. You can open the door. I didn't move. Hadley, I know you're in there. I can hear you breathing. I can hear your heart beating. It's very fast. Are you scared? You shouldn't be scared. Everything is fine. The protocols worked. You followed all the rules. and now it's morning, and you can go home." The handle turned. The door rattled against the frame, but held. "Hadley, open the door. I need to check the supplies. There's a specific item I need. If you open the door, I'll take it and leave. You'll never see me again." I picked up the radio. Channel 4. "Station 2, this is 14. Safe room breach attempted. Voice mimicking my own voice. Door holding. Request guidance." The radio crackled. Then a voice. "Hadley, why are you calling yourself? You're right outside the door. You can hear yourself talking. Why don't you open up and have a conversation?" I turned off the radio. The voice outside the door laughed. My laugh. The specific sound I make when something catches me off guard. "You're learning," the voice said. "That's good. Learning keeps you useful. Learning keeps you watching. Learning keeps you inside." The footsteps retreated down the hall, down the stairs. The front door closed. The deadbolt turned. I stayed in the closet until I saw daylight through the crack under the door. Day 4. The storm broke at noon. The snow was 3 feet deep around the station. But the sky was blue and the wind had stopped. And when I radioed Station 2, Diaz answered with the correct verification and the correct voice, and I finally breathed. "Storm's over," she said. "Tom's on his way with supplies. You did good, Hadley." The generator failed early. "We know. Something got to the fuel line. We're bringing a replacement." Something spoke with my voice. "We know that too. It's in the reports. It happens to everyone after enough time." "What does it mean?" "It means they're interested in you," Diaz said. "It means you're doing your job." Tom arrived at 2 p.m. with a new generator and a fresh supply kit. He walked the perimeter while I watched from the porch, counting boot prints in the snow. 47, he said when he returned. "Just me and you. Just us. 45 extra prints." I didn't ask where they came from. Tom changed the generator and restocked the closet and checked the door locks twice. Before he left, he handed me another sheet. "Final amendments," he said, "effective immediately." The sheet contained 6 rules, numbered 24 through 29. 24. After a storm event, conduct a full inventory of all station equipment. Report any items missing, moved, or duplicated. 25. If you hear your own voice outside the station, do not respond. Do not investigate. Your voice may be used to test boundaries for up to 72 hours after a major weather event. 26. If the radio transmits instructions not matching documented protocols, ignore them. False protocols may include numerical designations not in your briefing materials. 27. Following a safe room event, inspect the closet thoroughly. If any supplies are missing, do not replace them until the source of the loss is determined. 28. If the front door is found unlocked after a storm, do not assume human error. Log the incident and wait for day shift verification before resuming normal operations. 29. You are not required to understand the protocols. You are only required to follow them. I read Rule 29 3 times. "I'm not required to understand." "Nobody understands," Tom said. "The Rangers who came before didn't understand. The ones who come after won't understand. But the protocols work. 40 years, and the protocols work." 40 years of this. Longer, probably. The park is old. The trails are older. We just learned the rules. He left at 4 p.m. I walked the perimeter at 5, counting my steps, 117 to circle the building. The snow was already melting. By morning, the trails would be clear. I thought about the old campground, the one I wasn't supposed to mention, the one that was decommissioned. I thought about Sarah Wendell and Emma, 7 years old forever, walking trails in the dark. I thought about Marcus Webb and David Caldwell and Daniel Okonkwo, and 43 names in a filing cabinet, people who went missing and kept using the trails. I didn't understand, but I followed the protocols. 2 months in, April. The snow was gone and the day hikers were back, and I walked the trails at night, counting markers like a meditation. 23 on the east, 19 on the west. The numbers never varied anymore. I saw them sometimes at the edge of my flashlight beam. Figures standing beside trees, watching me pass. They didn't approach. They didn't speak. They just watched. I didn't acknowledge them. I kept walking. I counted. On April 19th, a hiker went missing. Her name was Jennifer Cole, 28 years old. Last seen at 4 p.m. at the Ridgeline Trailhead, heading toward the backcountry campsite. She didn't return by her registered time. The day shift found her car in the lot, keys on the dashboard, phone on the passenger seat. Tom coordinated the search. Diaz walked the trails. I stayed at the station and radioed updates every 30 minutes. They didn't find her. On April 21st, I saw her. She was standing beside marker 15 on the east loop, facing the trail, not moving. I was 50 feet away when my flashlight caught her. Young woman, dark hair, hiking clothes, a small pack on her back. I stopped. Verification, I said. She didn't respond. State the verification phrase, or I will maintain distance and return to the station. She turned her head. The movement was slow, mechanical, like something learning how to operate a body. I'm lost, she said. Can you help me find the way back? I checked my watch. 11:43 p.m. The phrase for April 21st was north wind tonight. State the verification phrase, I said again. I don't know what that means. I'm just trying to find the parking lot. I've been walking for hours. I can't find the markers anymore. There's a marker right beside you. She looked at the post. She looked back at me. Something in her expression shifted, a recognition that wasn't quite human. I can't see it, she said. I can only see you. I backed away, 20 feet, 30. Please, she said. I have a husband. His name is Kevin. We're supposed to have dinner tomorrow. He's waiting for me. Please help me find the way back. I turned and walked to the station. I didn't run. I maintained distance. I followed the protocols. Jennifer Cole was added to the list the next morning. Number 44, between 1982 and the present. I kept working. May. The trails were busy now, families and students and retirees, everyone enjoying the spring weather. I gave directions and handed out maps and reminded people to stay on marked paths. Standard ranger work. At night, I walked the loops and counted markers and followed protocols. On May 7th, I found another ranger at the station. She was sitting on the porch when I arrived for my shift. Young, maybe 23, wearing a uniform that was almost right. The patches were correct, but the color was wrong, a shade of green that didn't exist in the current inventory. Are you Hadley? She asked. I stopped at the edge of the path. Verification, I said. North wind tonight. That was the correct phrase for May 7th. I didn't relax. Who are you? New hire. I'm supposed to shadow you for a week. Tom said to meet you here at 11. Tom didn't tell me about any training. It was last minute. Budget approval came through yesterday. I looked at her uniform. The green was definitely wrong. Too dark. Too saturated. What's your name? Hannah Murray. And you're supposed to shadow me. For a week, learn the protocols. Get comfortable with the night shift. I walked past her into the station. I picked up the radio. Station 2, this is 14. Requesting confirmation of training assignment. Individual on site claims to be Hannah Murray, new hire. The radio crackled. Diaz's voice. 14, confirmed. Hannah Murray, hire date May 6th. Assigned to shadow your shift for orientation. She should have arrived at 11. I looked through the window. Hannah was still sitting on the porch, patient and still, waiting for me to verify. Confirmed, I said. Beginning orientation. I walked back outside. Hannah smiled at me. The expression looked correct. Ready? She asked. First, I said. Read this. I handed her the laminated sheet. She took it and read, her eyes moving across the rules at a natural pace, her expression shifting from curious to concerned to something I couldn't quite identify. Is this real? She asked. Yes. The markers, the blackout window, the verification phrases, all real. She looked at the forest. The trees were dark shapes against the evening sky, familiar and ordinary from a distance. What's out there? She asked. People who went missing, I said, who still use the trails. She read the rules again. I waited. I'm ready, she said. We walked the East Loop together. I counted markers aloud. Hannah watched and listened and didn't ask questions. At marker 11, where I'd seen my first contact, she stopped. Something's here, she said. Not tonight. Tonight is quiet. But something was here. I can feel it. I looked at the trail. Nothing visible. No figures at the edge of the light. You get used to it, I said. We completed the loop. 23 markers. Everything normal. On the West Loop, Hannah started counting without being told. She counted aloud, the same way I did, her voice steady and precise. 19, she said at the end. Good. We returned to the station. I showed her the radio procedures, the log sheets, the supply inventory. At 1 a.m., we sat in the dark for the blackout window, while footsteps circled the building and something breathed outside the main office window. Hannah didn't speak. She didn't look. She sat with her hands flat on her knees and waited for the clock to reach 1:45. You did good, I said when the lights came on. I was scared, she said. Everyone is. But you weren't. I was. I've just learned to work through it. She looked at the rules sheet on the desk. How long have you been doing this? 3 months. And before that, I worked in an office, insurance claims. Why did you switch? I thought about the question. The honest answer was money. I owed people I couldn't afford to repay, and this job paid better than anything else I was qualified for. But there was another answer, one I didn't like to examine too closely. I needed something real, I said. Something with consequences. Hannah nodded like she understood. We worked together for 4 nights. On the 5th night, she broke protocol. It started at marker 9 on the East Loop. A figure was standing beside the trail, motionless, facing us. Hannah saw it first. Someone's there, she said. I see them. Should we verify? We wait. They speak first, or we maintain distance. The figure didn't move. 60 seconds. 90. It's not speaking, Hannah said. Then we leave. But what if they're lost? What if they're an actual hiker? Actual hikers know the phrase. It's posted at every trailhead. What if they didn't see it? What if they're confused? Hannah, we leave. The figure moved, 1 step toward us, then another. Hello? Hannah said. I grabbed her arm. Don't. Hello, can you hear me? We're park rangers. We're here to help. The figure stopped. It tilted its head, a slow mechanical movement, like a dog hearing a strange sound. Hannah, it said. Hannah Murray. How do you know my name? Hannah Murray, hire date May 6th, assigned to shadow shifts for orientation. I started backing away, pulling Hannah with me. She resisted. That's right, she said. That's my assignment. How do you know that? I know because I was briefed. I know because I was told. I know because you told me, Hannah. Just now. Just tonight. And now I know your name. The figure moved again. Faster this time. 10 feet closer. Hannah, I said. We need to go. Now. But it's just... The figure's face came into the edge of the flashlight beam. It was Hannah's face. Hannah's exact face, down to the small scar above her left eyebrow. The real Hannah screamed. I pulled her back down the trail. We ran. The protocol said don't run, but I ran anyway, dragging Hannah behind me, counting markers as they passed. 8, 7, 6. The footsteps followed, heavy and measured. Closer. 5, 4, 3. Hannah was crying. I could hear her sobbing as she ran, the sound raw and terrified. 2, 1. Trailhead. We reached the station and I locked the door and we sat in the main office with the lights off, even though it wasn't the blackout window yet. It had my face, Hannah said. Yes, it knew my name. You told it your name. You engaged. I didn't. You spoke to it. You acknowledged it. The rules are clear, Hannah. We don't speak first. We don't answer by name. Names are not verification. She was shaking. I could see her hands trembling in the dim light from the emergency exits. What happens now? She asked. I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? You've been doing this for 3 months. You must know something. I know the protocols. I know the rules. I don't know what happens when they're broken. I radioed Station 2. Diaz answered. 14 reporting. Protocol breach on East Loop. Trainee engaged with unverified contact. Contact used trainee's name and appearance. Acknowledged. Status of trainee? Present at station. Distressed but unharmed. Maintain position. Day shift will assess. The radio went silent. Hannah looked at me with eyes that were too wide, too white. What does assess mean? I don't know. You keep saying that. You keep saying you don't know. But you follow these rules every night. You must have asked questions. You must have learned something. I learned that questions don't help, I said. I learned that the rules exist because something out there taught us what happens when we don't follow them. I learned that 44 people are on a list in a filing cabinet, and every single one of them probably thought they knew better than the protocols. Hannah was quiet for a long time. What do I do? She asked finally. You stay inside tonight. You don't look through the windows. Tomorrow, you talk to Tom and Diaz, and you decide if you want to keep doing this job. And if I don't, then you leave. You go back to wherever you came from, and you forget this place exists. Can I do that? Can I really just forget? I thought about the question. 3 months ago, I would have said yes. Now I wasn't sure. I don't know, I said. At 1:15, we turned off the lights for the blackout window. The footsteps circled the building, the same as always. But this time, there was a second set of footsteps. Lighter, faster, following a different pattern. Hannah heard them too. She looked at me in the dark, her face invisible, her breathing loud and ragged. What is that? Don't talk, don't look, just wait. The lighter footsteps stopped outside the main office window. A voice came through the glass. Hannah's voice. Hannah, I know you're in there. I know you can hear me. Come outside. Come join me. It's nice out here. It's quiet. There's nothing to be scared of. Hannah made a sound like a sob and a gasp combined. Don't respond, I whispered. Don't look, just wait. Hannah, you engaged with me. You spoke to me. You told me your name. That creates a connection. That creates a bond. I know you now, and I'll always know you. We're linked, Hannah. We're the same." I found Hannah's hand in the dark and held it. She was shaking so badly, I could feel her bones vibrating against my palm. "Come outside, Hannah. Walk the trails with me. Learn what I've learned. Become what I've become. It doesn't hurt. It's not even scary. Not really. It's just different. Different isn't bad." The voice continued for 30 minutes. The same words, the same phrases, the same patient invitation. At 1:45, it stopped mid-sentence. I turned on the lights. The window showed nothing but darkness and the faint outline of trees. Hannah didn't speak for the rest of the night. Tom arrived at 7. He looked at Hannah, still sitting at the desk, still staring at nothing. And he nodded once, like this was exactly what he expected. "Come with me," he said to her. She stood up slowly. She didn't look at me. "What happens to her?" I asked. "Assessment, debriefing, standard protocol for a breach." "Will she be okay?" Tom paused at the door. "Define okay." I didn't have a definition. Hannah left with Tom. I never saw her again. A week later, her name appeared in a memo as a voluntary resignation, effective immediately. No forwarding address. I asked Diaz about her once. She told me that sometimes people leave and sometimes people don't. And the ones who leave usually do better than the ones who stay too long after a breach. I didn't ask what happens to the ones who stay. June, summer crowds, triple the day hikers. I handed out maps and reminded people about trail safety and worked my overnight shifts in a forest full of strangers. The contacts increased. More figures at the edges of trails. More voices during the blackout window. More footsteps on the porch, in the hallway, on the roof. They were testing me, I realized, pushing boundaries, seeing how much I could take before I made a mistake like Hannah had. I didn't engage. I followed protocols. I counted markers and checked radios and sat in the dark when the rules said to sit in the dark. On June 15th, I found the map. It was in the drawer of the desk when I arrived for my shift, folded neatly beneath the log binder. Old paper, yellowed and brittle, hand-drawn in faded ink. The map showed the park, the trails, the stations. But there was something else, too. A trail I didn't recognize, leading from Marker 17 on the West Loop toward the ridge. At the end of the trail, 2 words in careful lettering: Old Campground. I stared at the map for a long time. Then I put it back in the drawer and didn't think about it. 3 nights later, I found the map on top of the desk. I hadn't moved it. I was certain I hadn't moved it. I put it back in the drawer. 2 nights after that, I found the map on my bunk upstairs. I burned it in the wood stove and radioed Station 2. 14 reporting, anomalous object in station. Hand-drawn map showing restricted location. I destroyed it. Acknowledged. Was the map damaged before destruction? No, fresh condition, like it had just been drawn. Understood. Continue normal operations. I continued normal operations. On June 23rd, someone left a new map in the same drawer. Same paper, same ink, same trail to the old campground. I burned that one too. On June 27th, I found 3 maps. One in the drawer, one on my bunk, one taped to the inside of the safe room door. I burned all 3. On June 30th, Tom arrived with a new set of protocols. Final emergency measures, he said, for situations beyond standard containment. The sheet had 5 rules, numbered 30 through 34. 30. If anomalous objects appear repeatedly despite destruction, catalog them with photographs before disposing. Log placement locations and timestamps. 31. If anomalous objects reference restricted locations, do not examine them in detail. Dispose immediately. Do not follow instructions, directions, or suggestions contained in the objects. 32. If restricted location information persists through multiple destructions, evacuate the station and radio station 2 for full containment team. 33. A full containment team requires 48 to 72 hours to assemble. During this period, remain at Station 2 and do not return to the affected area. 34. If you have already memorized restricted location information, report this immediately. Memory contamination requires specialized intervention. I looked at Rule 34. I remember where the old campground is, I said. Tom didn't react. From the maps, I saw it 3 times. I know exactly where it is. I know, Tom said. That's why I'm here. What happens now? Intervention. We remove the information from your memory. How? You don't want to know. I thought about that for a long time. The forest was quiet outside, summer birds singing, normal sounds of a normal world. Will I still be able to do the job? I asked. Yes, you'll forget the old campground's location. You'll forget that you ever knew it. Everything else stays the same. And if I refuse, then you leave, like Hannah, like Caldwell before he opened the door. I looked at the rules on my desk. 34 documents now, laminated sheets and handwritten additions and typed amendments and emergency protocols. 3 months of accumulated procedures for surviving in a place that shouldn't exist. I'll do it, I said. The intervention took 3 hours. Diaz came with equipment I didn't recognize, devices that hummed against my temples and made my teeth ache. I sat in a chair in the main office and tried not to think about what was happening. When it was over, I couldn't remember the trail from Marker 17. I couldn't remember the words old campground without a vague sense of unease, like trying to recall a dream that faded on waking. How do you feel? Diaz asked. Tired, hollow. That's normal. It'll pass. She packed up the equipment. Tom stood by the door, watching me with that same neutral expression. You did good, he said. Most people don't make it this far. Most people break or leave. You stayed. I need the job. No, you need to understand. That's different. I didn't know what he meant. I didn't ask. July, August, September. The seasons changed and the crowds thinned, and I kept walking the trails. 23 markers on the east loop, 19 on the west. The numbers never varied. I saw the missing people almost every night now. They stood beside trees and watched me pass. They called my name during the blackout window. They knocked on the door with hands that looked human but weren't. I didn't engage. I followed protocols. I survived. On October 3rd, Tom retired. He handed me a key ring with 14 keys and a notebook with 30 years of handwritten observations. The notebook was dense with data, patrol times, and contact locations, and marker counts, and weather correlations. You're senior now, he said. Station 14 is yours. Who takes over the other stations? Diaz is at 2. The others rotate. You'll meet them. And the protocols? Who updates them? You do, Tom said. When you learn something new, you add it to the list. That's how the system grows. I looked at the notebook. 30 years of lessons written in a hand that got shakier toward the end. Why does it work? I asked. The rules, the procedures. Why do they actually keep us safe? Because they create structure, Tom said. The things out there, they don't understand structure. They operate on instinct, on mimicry, on desire. They want to be seen. They want to be acknowledged. They want to be invited. The rules deny them all three. But they're still out there. They've always been out there. The park didn't create them. It just gave them a territory. Our job is to manage the boundary, to keep the hikers safe during the day and contain whatever happens at night. And the missing people, the 44 names on the list. 45 now. Jennifer Cole makes 45. They're just gone. They're not gone, Tom said. They're different. They still use the trails because that's all they remember. They still try to interact because that's what people do. But they're not people anymore. They're reflections, echoes. Echoes of what? Of themselves, of the moment they crossed a boundary. Every time someone breaks a protocol, a piece of them stays out there. The more pieces that accumulate, the stronger the echoes become. I thought about Hannah, her voice during the blackout window, her face on something that wasn't her. Will she come back? I asked. Probably, eventually. They all do. Tom left at noon. I stood on the porch and watched his truck disappear down the forest road. When he was gone, I went inside and opened the notebook and started reading. 6 months later, I added my first protocol to the list. 35. If you encounter a figure that matches your own description, do not attempt to verify identity. Maintain distance and return to the station immediately. Log the encounter with precise time and location. Do not mention the encounter to colleagues unless specifically asked. I added the rule because I saw myself. It was March, almost a year since I started. I was walking the West Loop, counting markers, thinking about nothing. At marker 12, I looked up and saw a man standing on the trail ahead. The man was wearing my uniform, my exact uniform, with the patches in the right places and the slight tear on the left sleeve, where I caught it on a branch 2 weeks ago. The man had my face. I stopped. He stopped. Verification, I said. He smiled, my smile, the exact curve of my lips. Verification, he said. I backed away. He didn't follow. He just stood there, watching me go, smiling that familiar smile. I returned to the station and locked the door and sat in the dark until morning. The next night, he wasn't there. Or the night after. But I knew he would be back. They're always patient. They've learned patience from watching us follow the rules, night after night, year after year. They know eventually someone will make a mistake. Someone will speak first, or look too long, or open a door. I added Rule 35, and I kept walking the trails. In April, I trained my first replacement. Young woman named Chen, debt problems like mine. That same desperate willingness to take any job that paid. I gave her the laminated sheets. I walked the loops with her. I sat in the dark during the blackout window and listened to her breathing get faster when the footsteps circled. You're going to be fine, I told her. Just follow the protocols. The system works if you work the system. She didn't look convinced. What if I make a mistake? She asked. Then you fix it, or you leave, or you stay and deal with the consequences. What are the consequences? I thought about Hannah, about Caldwell, about Sarah Wendell and Emma, 7 years old, forever. The consequences are that you become part of the forest, I said. Part of the trails, part of the thing we're trying to contain. Is that bad? I don't know, I said. Nobody who knows has ever come back to tell us. Chen stayed for 3 months before she resigned. The night before she left, she asked me one last question. Do you believe in any of this? Or do you just follow the rules because you're told to? I thought about it for a long time. The forest was quiet outside, that false quiet that comes before dawn. I believe in the rules, I said finally. I believe that something is out there and something bad happens if you don't do what the rules say. Beyond that, I don't know. And I've learned that not knowing is okay. Not knowing keeps me honest. Not knowing keeps me careful. That's not really an answer. No, I said, but it's true. She left the next morning. I heard her voice during the blackout window a week later, calling from the west side of the building, asking to be let inside. I didn't respond. I'm still here. 3 years now. The longest serving night ranger in Station 14's history. Tom comes by sometimes, retired, but still curious, asking about protocol updates and contact frequencies. The list has 49 names now. 5 since I started. I've added 11 protocols to the original 12. The system grows because the threats grow, because every year someone new discovers the park, and some of them don't come back. The rules work, not perfectly, not completely, but enough. Enough to keep the day hikers safe, enough to keep the boundaries intact, enough to let me sleep during the day and walk the trails at night and count markers like a meditation. 23 on the East Loop, 19 on the West. The numbers never vary. Last week, I started compiling a clean copy of all the protocols, numbered 1 through 46, laminated, organized into sections, core rules, amendments, emergency measures, final contingencies. The copy is for whoever comes after me. I don't know when that will be. I don't know what will finally make me leave, whether it's fatigue or mistake or something I can't predict. But I know I won't be here forever. Nobody is here forever. So I'm writing it down, the rules and the reasons, the numbers and the names, everything I've learned about surviving in a place where missing people still use the trails. When the time comes, I'll hand the copy to whoever replaces me. I'll tell them the same things Tom told me. Read this tonight. Read it carefully. Questions before 9. The system works if you work the system, and whatever you do, don't open the door.